Hi everyone, my name is Daniela Williams and my research is going to be on the current porn crisis. Some may say that Pornhub and Disney have nothing in common, but the truth is that both of these widely known companies make their money in the same way. They sell fantasies to the youth of our society. One shows children a place where toys come to life, castaway pirates fight, princes and princesses fall in love, living happily ever after, while the other demonstrates women with impeccable figures, tied and chained to walls while men dominate them alongside other women, even if they say no. What do you think goes through the mind of a little 9-year-old girl witnessing these two separate worlds all at once? How will this affect the way she looks at men, women, or even herself? A 9-year-old girl hasn't experienced the beginning stages of puberty, yet has been exposed to a world of sex without the mental capacity to process it. Because of the increased accessibility to the internet, this has become the reality of many girls and boys around the world. Generation X primarily viewed pornography through magazines such as the famous Playboy. Millennials experimented pornographic videos and pictures through the dial-up internet on desktop computers. But the current post-millennial generation have quick internet access through devices such as iPhones, iPads, and even game networking devices. Popular gaming consoles have direct connection to the internet, where children are vulnerable to the exposure of sexually explicit ads that lead to major pornographic websites. Music, social media, and even mainstream commercials contain women posing in sexually suggestive poses to elude consumers. Pornography has become exponentially popular and interwoven between the fabric of our society. Furthermore, it emphasizes how American culture is gradually being dominated by sex. Thus, I believe that exploring the effects of porn on its consumers would be beneficial for the physical and social health of our society. Although pornography can be seen as a form of self-expression that is healthy and essential to discovering sexual experiences, I will argue that the damaging effects of pornography on its consumer psyche and behavior represent the lack of regulation and inattention to the mental health crisis that factors into our society's public health. I aim to support this claim from a psychological and sociological standpoint by incorporating research that verifies the negative effect of pornography usage, such as the loss of brain matter, increased compulsive tendencies, and its promotion of an askewed societal perception. I will also pose possible treatment options and legislative changes to regulate the consumption of pornography not only for our society, but particularly for underage children. In a society bent on moving beyond the years of discriminatory gender practices, pornography serves only to further stereotypical gender roles by creating a brain cycle that is obsessive and difficult to control. By examining the effects of pornography, we can better understand its negative presence in American culture and begin to educate our youth in regard to this issue, creating a safer and more welcoming atmosphere in the process. Before understanding the psychological and sociological effects of pornography and internet addiction, there are key terms that must be defined. First, pornography has been defined differently in many settings. Some only consider content explicitly showing genitalia as pornography. Some believe it to be that it's sexual acts containing penetration. For the sake of this paper, I will define pornography as predominantly sexual explicit material intended primarily for the purpose of sexual arousal. Second, addiction is a serious condition that impacts the brain, body, and behavior, making the activity and/or substance difficult to control or discontinue. Addictions are often limited to the substances that are either inhaled, injected, or ingested. But for the sake of this research, addiction is used in a wider scope, including any action or behavior that inhibits daily activity and affects impulse control. Final term we need to define is the study of psychology. Psychology is the scientific study of the brain and mind. There are many subsets within the branch of psychology. For this paper, we will explore neurology, the biological study of the brain, and social psychology, the study of social interactions and its effects on the individual. People who consume pornography, whether it be consistently or even casually, has significant neurological differences affecting behavior that stem from direct porn usage. Many people who argue against pornography being an addiction say there is no proof that it changes your physiological state of being. But researchers are recently showing interest in studying the neurological effects of pornography, and recent brain scans are showing major differences. Researchers Kuhn and Gallant conducted an experiment that specifically investigated how the brain responds while consuming pornography. Participants were placed in fMRIs, functional magnetic resonance imaging, while researchers presented them with sets of sexually explicit and non-sexually explicit images. Prior to their experiment, they filled out questionnaires and forms intaking pornography consumption habits. Researchers found distinct areas affected from porn consumption. Images showed greater activation in reward circuits, showing a high need for stimulation, similar to the brain scans of compulsive gamblers. Because of these, the researchers concluded that the reward system is highly affected. They also found that among men who watched porn often, gray matter was significantly reduced. The reason that this was an alarming discovery is because gray matter is the neurons, cell bodies in the brain, necessary for everyday activities. According to the current medical discoveries, once gray matter is damaged or lost, it can no longer be regained. Loss of gray matter has been linked to other disorders such as bipolar, schizophrenia, and Alzheimer's. Although the research was limited in the number of participants and a lack of diversity in both race and gender, this study launched an interest in other researchers to further understand the conversation of the detrimental effects of pornography. Pornography is highly addictive, especially among young adolescents and children because of their high sensitive reward system and underdeveloped brain. Within different branches of psychology, adolescent psychology has gained popularity and with it a growing interest on impulse control. Social media, movies, and TV shows depict adolescents as unable to control impulses for dangerous activities such as reckless driving, drinking, and sex. Researchers from around the world began investigating, is this a social issue or are teenagers biologically programmed this way? A collection of data of adolescents show that during teenage years, the amygdala, the center of our brain that responds to emotions of fear and anger, are extremely sensitive. Researchers have also found that the brain of teenagers is underdeveloped in their prefrontal cortex. This is important to understand because the frontal cortex is responsible for decision-making and planning behaviors. In addition to neurological changes, it is during this time that the body is undergoing many physiological changes in the form of increased hormones. It is because of this research that teenagers are more often to think of sex and have stronger desires for it. Pornography at an early age correlates with pronounced and hindered underdeveloped prefrontal cortexes and enhanced activation of the reward circuit. Neuroplasticity is a new concept in the world of psychology, and it means that the brain is able to grow, develop, and regenerate, and it is because of this that pornography can be extremely detrimental to young children. Frequent and infrequent exposure to pornography was associated with maladjusted brain development. Experiments on the consumption of sexually explicit material for children and adolescents under the age of 18 pose an ethical obstacle for data collection. Because of this, there isn't much direct experimentation in this area, so I decided to conduct my own informal research. I constructed a questionnaire collecting basic demographic information, including age, gender, sexuality, etc. I also collected data not only on porn consumption, but the venues in which it's consumed and the ages in which participants first consumed. I found that 53.2% of participants claim to have witnessed pornography before the age of 18, as shown on the graph right here. I was interested in finding correlations with the statistics of the world's biggest pornography site, Pornhub. Every year for the past 5 years, Pornhub releases statistics on pornography consumption ranging from most popular term used to even the age of visitors. I found that Pornhub's average age range was 35.5 years old. The majority of their consumers were reported to be between the ages of 18 and 24. but they failed to report the underage consumers due to the legal issues. Pornhub also questioned a slight above average peak in daytime hours that porn was consumed. Their data showed that between the times 3 p.m. and 5 p.m. there was an unusual spike of pornography consumption. From my data collection, participants explained the first time watching porn were at times when parents were not home. The average workday in America is from 9 in the morning to 5 in the afternoon, but the average school day is between 8 in the morning and 3 in the afternoon. I conclude that the unaccounted age gap in Pornhub statistics, along with the peak viewing hours, correlates with my data collection. The times 3 to 5 are the times where a large portion of teenagers and children are witnessing pornography for the first time. By studying the successes and failures of regulation of explicit material in companies and other countries, America can learn how to stop the rise in porn that is being exposed to the public. There is a large debate surrounding the regulation of porn. There are two major problems. One is that legislation currently does not have a definition for what constitutes as pornographic material, and the second is issues of freedom of speech. The producers of pornography claim porn to be an art form, that they are real actors and performers, and limiting production is limiting free speech. Because of this, the line is blurred between what is real and what is acting. Some people believe that by eliminating pornography completely from the internet, it will produce more extreme porn in the dark web, and it will promote illegal activity. Understanding that eliminating pornography is not possible, creating awareness of the dangers in porn, and creating strict laws for accessibility can be completed and is a close second. Recently, Instagram blocked all explicit or graphic material in their network. There is no longer availability to witness pornographic images, and individuals have the opportunity to report those images and videos for violating guidelines. YouTube has similar guidelines that remove explicit material. If they are violated, the account will be removed along with the material. In the same way, video game consoles should be obligated to block access to pornographic websites, pop-up ads, and searches for pornographic material. In the UK, there was a widespread of availability of pornographic material in 1993. Parliament set a committee to investigate the matter. They decided to change current legislative laws to criminalize the possession of pornography. A mixture of legislation and self-regulation was necessary to reduce this explicit content from the internet. The Internet Watch Foundation, also known as IWF, was key to decreasing this content. The IWF was a UK hotline that was used to report the illegal content, and the group assessed the adult content, sent notice to the provider, and was obligated to remove it from the internet. The mixture of both the legislation and the IWF showed a reduction from 18% to less than 1% of pornography on the internet. This form of regulation seemed to be fruitful only when combined with the public health. I believe that in order for this to happen, awareness of the harm of pornography is necessary to create a need for the country to help participate in the end of internet pornography. When we reach a time in a country where legislation can criminalize the production of pornography and public action is combined, we can reduce the harmful effects of pornography on our society. Inattention to the problem of pornography consumption will continue to affect the public health and the way we interact with one another. I will continue to stress its importance to create a safer space for children in the following generation. I will also continue to explore future psychological tests as well as show the more widely known social impacts that porn has on its young consumers. It is impossible to grow as a healthy young individual, mentally and physically, when you are being played with the social comparison and social scripts of pornography material. The closer we get to strictly regulating this issue, as well as increasing awareness, the closer we get to having a society where girls and boys are safe to dream, live their hopes, goals, and dreams in a way that promotes equality and value with each other as human beings.